guys.
Hello.
Max and I are here from our villa in Greece or Tuscany or wherever that is.
Wall tapestry here. It's pretty obvious.
Good to laugh. Yeah, you totally see like the wrinkle over there. It's pretty funny.
Well, no shadows on the backdrop. And the angle.
Anyway, I've been noticing, hey Cynthia, I've been noticing some of you talking about loving yourself or, you know, accepting who you are. And just this morning I had a conversation with Max about that for myself. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to come share about loving yourself, accepting yourself just how you are, because, you know, it's always a relevant topic and some of us aren't very good at it. So we want to kind of make a distinction between complacency, accepting yourself the way you are. Just because you accept yourself the way you are doesn't mean that you are lazy or complacent or you don't look at your shadow. That's not what this is about. So we want to talk about what it really is about.
Yeah.
By the way, we're almost done with our 40 days of self-love in the Creation Temple Facebook group, but you are welcome to join that group anytime and look back at the previous posts so you can get some ideas about how to love yourself and accept yourself. So what is self-acceptance?
So self-acceptance is, I suppose it's a form of allowing whatever you're experiencing in this moment to be as it is, not having this resistance or rejection to, like, you know, like if you have like self-defeating thoughts, be like, okay, that's part of an expression of myself. And so having that space of being willing to understand yourself, being willing to hear yourself, being allowing of your self-expression and not having to suppress or defeat what you see as negative or bad.
Yeah.
Right. And then from there, from that space of compassion, understanding, then making a choice in how to move forward and how to grow and how to change.
So self-acceptance involves compassion.
Yes.
I like how you just threw that word in there. That's good.
Yes. I mean, because compassion is all about understanding why different parts of yourself act out the way they do, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you know, I wanted to talk about this also because some of you are, you know, you've had hard lives or you've had trauma. We've all had trauma. You've had trauma that's still, you know, active within your cellular memory. Maybe you're young and you haven't like quite come into yourself and really accepted who you are. Or maybe you're, you know, a very sensitive being like me and you have trouble with that. Or maybe you're older and all your life you have hated yourself or felt guilty or never really fully accepted yourself. And so we wanted to kind of break it down so that you could really come into that space of loving acceptance of yourself and that compassion, bringing compassion. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you wanted to talk about a certain distinction?
Right. So allowing what is occurring in the moment and allowing whether it's, you know, something internal or something that you're seeing external. Acceptance doesn't mean that you are, you know, that you sit back and you're complacent with it. Acceptance means that you find a space within yourself. It's like you're finding that peace within yourself where you are loving yourself, you're loving what is in the moment instead of trying to change it. Maybe it serves a purpose. Maybe that challenge or mastery opportunity, as I like to call it, is there for a reason. And so accepting it doesn't mean that you are, you know, just resigned to it, but it does mean that you allow it to unfold and even work with it.
Right. So it's a difference between resisting the thing that maybe you're wanting to be different or wanting to be more clear in yourself, rather the other way of navigating is to collaborate with it, right?
Yes.
To see, why it is the way it is and what it needs to have to be okay with change, right? For that part of yourself to be okay with change. Yeah. And so there's...
Should we share the example of this morning?
All right.
Yeah, so I was having this long conversation with Max, and he was kind of coaching me on trusting myself. And so I'm experiencing in my body, my body's very sensitive. It processes everything. It processes every energy. It processes the universe. I feel everything in my body. And on the one hand, that's really cool because it's a skill that I have when I'm working with clients to be able to feel deeply whatever they're feeling, things that they, that I need to bring to their attention that are in their shadow that they may not recognize. Yeah. On the other hand, for me, it's sometimes very challenging because my body's like, kind of reactive all the time to everything. And, I'm always asking for ease and grace. And then I was like, well, what if this makes me stronger and I don't actually want ease and grace? And what if this isn't about, we thought the issue that I was working with was about trusting myself, but what it came down to is actually accepting my body the way it is, accepting how it functions, accepting its sensitivities, accepting the messages it gives me, and honoring that. And it's just, as soon as I figured that out, it was like, oh, this is about just loving myself and accepting myself the way I am, and trusting myself, because I'm trusting that my body is doing what it needs to do for me. I'm trusting that I'm listening to my body's messages, and I take inspired action to, change something if something needs to be changed. Yeah. And that's a very loving thing to do, when you can trust yourself, when you can accept yourself. So I'm just sharing an example. You may have a situation where, maybe a client's beating you up, and it's like, they're triggering you, and you're not sure, like, is this something I need to look at, or do I just need to accept myself and trust myself that I'm doing the right thing? Or, maybe you're having an issue with a family member, and you don't quite know how to accept the situation. And again, it doesn't mean that you just, go into complacency and throw your hands up in the air and like, well, this is just the way it is. There's always something you can do in the situation to become more of a mastery with those opportunities that come your way.
I guess another perspective of it could be like where someone's expressing something that is, constrictive and suppressive, either to their own selves or to others, and having acceptance of that expression is not the same as how would you say,
allowing it to affect you,
giving
it
power, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's a good one,
right? And so there's this, expression, an example would be a parent abusing a child, right? That happens quite often, right? And so you allow that expression, being that the parent is acting out and the child is, there participating with whatever the soul chose in that situation. And you still show up in your power. What do you feel inspiration to share advice or assistance for them to grow, to change? Or do you not feel that inspiration and still not give power to what that person is expressing and let that pull your energy down, right? So there's a difference between accepting and allowing each in their expression, but there's a difference between that and giving it power, right? And letting that be sort of like running the show. So it's
that's a rough example, man.
Right. So it's allowing your expression and their expression to show up as equals, right? And participating in that, that co-creation, if you are inspired, if you are resonant with that expression. Right?
So this is good for empaths.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all the time feeling other people's energy and other people's emotion, and if we're not clear about which energy is ours, we can very easily kind of be like dragged along
right.
by the emotions and energies of others.
Because in that example, right, a lot of people feel like well, I need to step in, right? That idea. But that can become a pattern itself, and you can fall into what is like the hero pattern or the rescue pattern, where you try and solve all the problems. And so that's sort of how that can get out of balance as well. And so to always check in, is this what resonates with my inspiration of what I'm wanting to participate in? And for some people it's yes, and for some people it's no. And not to judge yourself if it is no, right? Be like, that's playing out, and trusting, again, this is trust, that all will unfold in divine order, in resonance, right? And that each will have what they need to move forward and grow. And so only checking in with where your part is in the whole.
And that's, and this goes probably back to a different video, but
yeah.
That's where it's important to know what is your energy and what is the energy of other that's not you. Mm-hmm. Because when you can make that distinction as an empath, then you can say, oh, that's their expression. I don't need to be affected by
mm-hmm.
what they're expressing. I can stay centered within my own energy, and I can accept myself in the process. Because a lot of times for empaths, this self-love, self-acceptance, self-trust thing mm-hmm. gets convoluted by the energies they're feeling around them. Mm-hmm. Like, it might not even be you that, when you're feeling the energy of distrust or you're feeling the energy of non-acceptance, that might not even be your energy. Yeah. So again, another video, but important to understand that can be part of what you may be feeling in the moment.
Right, and so plays into accepting that can happen, that does happen, and also a practice to go with that is holding space for yourself.
Yeah.
Right, allowing yourself to have space. Right? Another form of acceptance, another form of allowing. Saying it's okay to have space for yourself.
Exactly. And this is another thing I was thinking about too, is accepting yourself where you are in the process. So if you are an empath and you haven't mastered being with your own energy, to accept yourself. Like, hey, I'm not there yet. If there's something that, like, like your end goal, or where you could be and you're not there yet, to accept yourself where you are in the process. Mm-hmm. I remember one of my 5D brothers was sharing something with me and like saying how I should be doing it or could be doing it, and I said yes, and I'm not yet integrated with the step that comes before that. And I accept that within myself, that's where I am right now in this moment. Mm-hmm. And it was actually really powerful for me to do that. Yeah. Instead of beating myself up and be like, oh yeah, I should be doing that. Like, no, I'm not there yet, I'm still integrating this step that goes before that. So accepting where you are in the journey, accepting where you are in the process, especially this message is for those of you who are maybe newly awakening, or, you've been on the journey for a while and things have been really challenging because you are deeply sensitive or whatever. Accepting where you are in your spiritual journey and, trusting yourself in that and loving yourself as you go through the journey, because, you are where you are. And you can, and it doesn't mean, again, that you sit back and you're just like, well, this is the best I can do. Like, no, there's always more inner work that you can do on yourself to propel yourself forward to the next step.
So what is it, whenever someone has this idea of a certain way things should be, is should like a
should
form...
is not acceptance.
Right, is should like a form of some form of invalidating what someone is, either yourself or like...
It's a way of invalidating the experience, invalidating who you are even. that's something, man, I work with that a lot, actually, because I know who I am and I know where I'm going, and clearly I'm not there yet. And so that's something I process a lot, actually, is shoulds. Yeah, I should be like much further along than where I am. I talk with my mentor about this all the time. He's probably tired of me hearing it from me. I should be, like 10 years ahead of where I am or whatever. And it's just, that's not how life works. Like, you could only do so much from your end, right? You can't control everything else. You can't control the timing. You can't orchestrate all the other moving pieces that need to come into alignment. Like, it's amazing where I am if I look back on my life and what I've accomplished. It's really amazing. And instead of saying I should be much further along than I am, I can just, be grateful and accept myself. This is where I am. I've come a long, long way. It's pretty amazing.
Accepting your journey, accepting where you are on the journey.
Yeah. Trusting myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any questions. I've been kind of looking at the comments a little bit. I haven't seen any questions. You guys have any questions about this topic? Self-love, self-trust, self-acceptance? Any questions? If not, we'll probably end the video. But thank you for being with me today, Max.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope that by watching this, that you can truly look within yourself and ask yourself, are there any parts of myself that I'm not accepting? For example, are there aspects of my light that I'm not accepting? Are there shadow aspects that I'm trying to push away or not accepting? It goes both ways, right? Sometimes we're just as, reluctant to integrate our light as we are our shadow. So ask yourself, are there any parts of myself that I'm not accepting? And give it an honest inquiry. Because what it will show you, if there are parts of yourself that you're not accepting, it will show you what you can work with next. Because, I see the question. So when you ask yourself that question, it will show you what you have to work with next, because there's always more. Okay. So what do you do if you're feeling impatient with your process? Well, for me, a great practice is gratitude and acknowledging and honoring myself, how far I've come and what I have done. So looking back, this is where looking at your past can be healthy, I believe. Looking back and saying, oh yeah, I've done this. I completed that project. I helped that person. I used to be this kind of person and now I'm this person. Look at your progress. Look at what you have accomplished and achieved. And yes, continue to hold that vision of who you know that you are. Continue to honor yourself by holding the vision of who you are, and instead of, beating yourself up for not being where you think you should be, be grateful to yourself for what you have done.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you're feeling inadequate because you're not moving fast enough? Yeah. Yeah, same answer. Use that as your fuel. That feeling of being inadequate, that feeling of not moving fast enough, that feeling in your body, you feel the angst of that. You feel the frustration or the anger, or whatever that feeling or emotion is that comes up when you feel inadequate because you're not moving fast enough. That is your fuel. That is what propels you to move forward. And so instead of allowing yourself to get frustrated and actually hold yourself back, use that emotion and channel that emotional energy to propel yourself forward. And then you actually might start moving faster than you were before.
Right.
What would you like to say?
So that can turn into just forcing it harder in the act of frustration. So
when I say channel it and use it, I'm not talking about forcing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like harness the emotion. Instead of letting it be an emotional leak or an energy leak, harness the emotion of feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
and put it in your heart and use it to fuel yourself.
And so here's the question: what is adequacy? What is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Adequacy is
there's that should thing again.
Is a judgment of worth, right? If you're experiencing what you're experiencing and you're choosing what you're choosing and you feel that you're in integrity, but you feel that there has not been enough change, or it's out of balance in some way, in that manner, it's this lack of acceptance in some way of where you are with your process, and so how do I say that? You can't be any further than you already are, because you already are where you are, and so there isn't a difference to be held in weight, because it already is as it is. And so you're essentially just throwing yourself into these sort of weighted states, these states of bringing your energy down, but that doesn't actually serve the process of moving forward, right? So
that's that frustration thing that I mentioned. Like when you allow yourself to become frustrated, that's when the energy starts to turn in on itself.
Right. So it's accepting how you are in this moment, how your situation is in this moment, and from that point choosing and standing in your choice, standing in your knowing, trusting yourself, and moving from that point, and not having it be about the point where you're at is lesser or not good enough or any of that.
Yeah.
Because the first step of it is to accept it as it is, and then move from there.
Yeah.
And so
you're perfect the way you are, by the way.
Right.
That's something I wanted to say at the very beginning, actually. That's you're perfect you're perfect the way you are. And again, it doesn't mean that you don't look at your shadow, that you don't work with integrating more light, but to know, like, at your core, you're actually pretty perfect. Now, someone wanted us to address unconditional self-love versus conditional love.
Oh.
And there's another question coming up. Where does the idea of unworthiness come from? Okay, so we'll get to that one. Okay, so conditional self-love versus unconditional.
Okay.
What can we say about that? To me, it's pretty self-explanatory, because if you have conditional self-love, you're putting conditions on it. Like, I'll love myself when, or I'll love myself more if, or I'll love myself if that person reflects it back to me that I'm worthy of love. Those conditions that we put on love or self-love. When you truly love yourself without condition, you're simply honoring yourself.
When love is not seen as a condition, but rather you
mean an outcome?
Right. When it's not seen as like an action or an engagement, but rather the very foundation of what you are, the very substance of what you are.
Yes. Good.
Right. And so before anything even happens, you're already loved.
Yeah.
Before you choose something, you're already. And so
love isn't the reward. Love isn't the outcome.
Love is the very substance of what you are, and so you radiate. Right.
You just are love.
Right. You radiate that to whatever degree, wherever you are with that. And that's the foundation of it, right?
Excuse me.
So love isn't something you find, it's something you emanate, it's something you are, it's your substance.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for that reminder.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, now I have to scroll back and find that other question, because someone was asking about, where does this idea of unworthiness come from? How have you cleared that belief in yourselves? And I'm guessing that's the end of the question, because that's all I can see. So if there's more, Charlotte, if you could write the second question again. If we got it, then good. So where does it come from? It's part of the program of this matrix. It's part of the patterning that's been, this is my belief, that's been placed upon us to have us be in that energy of unworthiness, to have us accept and allow that we're unworthy. Obviously, just like we're love, we're worthy. But that's inherently, we're worthy. That's who we are. So those ideas, where do they come from? Years and years and years and thousands of years of patterning and programming on this planet.
Well, in its basic, it's experiences of internalizing, trauma, internalizing rejection, internalizing,
not knowing any different,
mistakes, or what you would perceive as you were intending one thing and something else happened. So the thing you intended to good ended up being bad, and so you aren't worthy of being good because you've made, mistakes or things that you find out of balance. And so
it's kind of like accepting the pattern.
Right. And so
perpetuating it.
And so part of moving past that is accepting mistakes, accepting those growing pains of learning how to navigate life in this limited experience, right?
Yeah.
What? It went sideways.
Yeah, I hate when that happens. Someone asks to join, and then
okay.
I don't know how to fix the screen. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
And so this accepting of where were we? Worthiness, yes. So accepting of your nature as divinity, right? Accepting of your origin, accepting of in that state, yes, you are perfect and all-knowing and all-seeing and all-being. And in this state, it's more limited. So accepting that this limited state isn't, it isn't an identical reflection of all your qualities, but it is something you've come down to intimately experience. And so not letting that experience have power over your true essence, over your true being, right? And so that comes back to giving power and the acceptance and allowing space. It all goes together,
it all
both
certainly
internally and externally.
Yeah. And so the second part of that question was, have I cleared that within myself and come into my full worth? And I would say, honestly, I have not. For the most part, generally in my day-to-day life and, my experience, I feel worthy, I feel valuable. But I think there are probably still some shadow aspects of me that I haven't yet come into my wholeness or my fullness that are still there. Where there might be some beliefs or limitation around my worth. Yeah. How about you?
Myself?
Yeah.
I feel fully worthy.
Okay, so how have you cleared... Sorry, I have to go like this because the comments are sideways now. How have you cleared that belief in yourself and truly come into your worth?
It's it's a process. It's a practice. A lot of it has been simply verbal expression and proclaiming it, proclaiming
I am
it.
Worthy.
Yeah, proclaiming it's true and standing in that knowing. And so there is a certain degree of you have to experience yourself actually being in that space to know it, to believe it, and so in part of that, was certainly expressing to you, is expressing to my friend, and just being of that knowing, of that worth, of that, and it's within that experience of the expression of it that I truly hear myself. I guess that's part of it, is hearing yourself, and be in that space of proclaiming your worth, proclaiming your value, proclaiming your right and your freedom and your power and your knowing and your truth. Just proclaiming it and feel it. Observe yourself, feel yourself in that moment of expression. And so that's definitely a very direct way to address that belief is, and so if you hear,
but how do you,
if you hear hesitancy, if you hear like, okay, I hear that, and look into what you're feeling there. And so it's in the expression itself that surfaces anything that's stifling that worth.
Right, but how do you actually feel worthy if you're not feeling worthy?
How do you feel worthy if you're not feeling worthy?
Yeah, like how do you get to that space of knowing your worth, knowing your value, if you're not actually feeling it?
Well, it's a practice and a process. So, in part, I guess you would have a journey first of well, what things do you consider in integrity to your worth, integrity to your value, integrity to your nature, in your expression, in your choice, right? What are you choosing that is in alignment with that value of your true self?
Yeah.
And so if it's a short list, be like, okay, so look at your choices and look at what you're choosing and why you're choosing it, and ask yourself, can you be more aligned with your truth and your value inherent in that truth, right? More and more.
Yeah, for me, it's been a process actually of releasing all of those things, all of the belief systems, all of the programs and patterns, and really seeing who I am, to know that I'm valuable, to know my worth.
Right, and so
it wasn't actually like trying to like come into my worth.
Yeah.
It was a process of clearing away everything that's not that, so that I could feel my worth more. Charlotte, I hope that helps.
So I guess in a way, letting go and realizing what is not you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So the patterns, the programs, the imprints, the implants, the traumas, the however many different ways you want to express it, the things that aren't really of your true nature. They're just things that you've picked up along the journey. Yeah.
And honestly, doing my inner work, doing that work has really boosted my value, I never had like severe self-esteem issues or anything like that, but it really boosted my sense of my value and worth, because I built this really strong muscle to do my inner work, to clear away the stuff that's not me. And it feels good. It feels good to have strength in that. It feels good to have built that muscle within myself. And I'm going to answer this question too. She was asking if I am always motivated to do my inner work. And yeah, it's a little off topic, but that's okay, because I really like this question. Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. And Max, I think, can attest to that, because he's around coaching me through it a lot of the time. Yeah. So I'm pretty much always a gamer for it, you know, because I have realized how important it is, how good it feels to come out on the other side, how much it contributes to the collective when I clear something within myself and create a template for someone else. Like that feels good to me. So it's not always fun to do the inner work, but I'm pretty much always motivated to do it. Because you feel. Because that's me, because I feel, because that's who I am.
So there's some people that don't feel, or that are clouded in their feelings, and they just see it as trudging through all this stuff that they don't want to look at. So
because they're not doing anything with it, they're not actually changing themselves.
Right. Or there's, how would you say it? There's people that will try to do the right thing, but not actually address what they're doing and why they're choosing. Like they They're doing what they think they should do.
Yeah. But they're not getting to their core. They're not being led by their heart or by inspiration.
Not really integrating why, like, what is the fulfilling part of that within the self of doing what resonates, right? Doing, and so that comes back to finding truly what resonates in your heart to express and experience.
Yeah.
And so, and if it's you know, if it goes against social norms, if it goes against, you know, sometimes that can be a bit of a journey to be like, okay,
to accept yourself.
I'm feeling what I'm feeling.
Yes.
And everyone says all these other things should be, but that's, you know, everyone is individual in their path and journey.
Yeah.
In that way, we all play different roles.
And that comes back to
accept that we're all different.
Yes. That comes back to accepting you for who you are, the way that you are. Your body, your emotional field, how you're wired, your constitution, everything. Just accepting all of that about yourself and turning those into strengths. Yeah. Using those to your benefit. Like having a sensitive body can be annoying sometimes, but on the other hand, it's a really powerful strength when I'm in service. So like you all have that, you know, I'm just using my personal example, but we all have those things that on one hand, it can be a pain in the butt. But on the other hand, if you take the positive side of it, it can be something really powerful that you use for your benefit or the benefit of those you serve. So accepting all parts of yourself, it's a beautiful thing.
I guess an illustrative analogy would be not wanting to take out the trash and it piles up and up and up. Yeah. But the benefit of taking out the trash that's been piling up and up and up, right? It's something that can be uncomfortable, but when it's done, there's a much cleaner and clearer space.
Yes.
Right? And so,
he's talking about shadow work.
Yes. But that's a very direct sort of analogy is, you know, it's kind of gross to handle and icky and you don't really want, but as, you know, you step up, you move through it, and when it's all cleaned, you have a much cleaner home, a much cleaner vessel, right?
And you wash your hands afterwards.
You're free of it, you know, being on the back of your mind, like, you know, this.
I gotta take out the trash. Oh shoot, I was supposed to take out the trash yesterday. Right. It's like once you do it, it's like, now there's space to breathe.
And so you're free from a lot of, you know, if it's an issue with some family drama, like to address, you know, why it's constantly on your shoulders, why you're taking stress about it, why it's bringing down, you know, so it's like it affects the quality of life a lot, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And to clear these things is to be free of that and have a better quality of life for yourself. So there is a very, like, you know, addressing it has benefit pretty directly.
So again, self-acceptance does not mean that you don't look at it and push it under the rug. It absolutely means that you address anything that comes up.
The acceptance part is picking up the trash. Not saying that the trash is I accept the trash and it's such a great thing that's going to stay here. The acceptance part is actually picking up and look, I'm accepting it. I'm holding it. And I'm accepting
it needs to go out.
I'm gonna do something with it. All right. So there's the illustration of acceptance.
So cute. I love it.
You have to accept it. You have to pick it up, and then you can move it.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap up now. Really appreciate you being with us today. If you have any questions after, you know, if you're watching the replay or whatever, you can put those in the comments. Lots of love, you guys. See you in the next video. Mwah.
Beautiful time.
If you want help with some of this stuff, you can schedule a session. I'm here for that.
Oh, that's good.
So, you don't have to do it by yourself. All right. Love you guys. Mwah.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.